They're still forecasting the G2 storm for the first. And you can see right here when we get into the yellow and the red and the spike to the earth on the first and second. Looks like it's gonna last a little while. Right there. Looks like we might have some more red coming after that. So, just to show you the latest. The wind speeds are already up. Only 549 right now, but you know, they did go down to 3 something. And now they're up to 549. I expect them to get close to 800, if not higher, with this G2. I don't know. I mean, we've seen them go up to 6 something, and that was with the G1. The G2 is expected on the 1st. The G1 is expected on the 31st, which is tomorrow, Saturday. And the G2 for Sunday. And the solar wind speeds are already up to 549, and we haven't been hit with the G1 yet. So when we get hit with the G2, good gracious. Like I said, they were down to 300 and something earlier in the week. So, anyway, let me show you the beam on this thing. So, I'm going to let it play through, and you'll see this beam shoot out here. See this blue beam? There it is. We'll have to watch it and see if it continues, or is this some kind of spacecraft, UFO, beaming out light, or is there another source of light up here somewhere that's causing that beam? Because this is our sun down here. Or maybe our sun's so bright now it's bouncing there and causing it to beam. I don't know. But it's not beaming like that over here. There is blue around this, but anyway. So I'll freeze it in a minute. Make sure you can see it. There it is. And the blue beam is moving with it. So the blue beam is coming off of here and it's moving with it. So, I don't know. I would think that if it was a reflection from our sun down here, as it moves, the beam would stay where it's at. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe some scientists can explain it. And it's interesting, to say the least. And I will be right back. So, forgive me. I'll be back in a moment. I will play something for you. I still got things to take care of. I'm actually supposed to be at my other job right now, but no ride, and I can't get a hold of my boss. 42-foot coastal sea swells possible with Hurricane Dorian. Good gracious. Crazy. Wow. Um, Yeah, I definitely got to share some of these videos with you of the sky I've been taking. Just haven't had time.
Thank you for joining us. This broadcast is made possible by the Lord and the donations of brethren like yours. So, if you would like to give a donation to help keep this broadcast on the air, please visit llgive.com. Thank you and shalom. And all of those things, those six things, when Jesus came, what we see
Hello.
by looking at the drone view are a lot of things that are going on in the earth that were
So
not
whatever
going
this
on in the first century,
blue beam
or
is,
the second century,
right
or the
there,
third century, or
watch
the
it.
fourth century.
It's
And
going to
though
pop up here.
all times the church is supposed to be ready at
Off
any
of
moment
this
for his
planet,
coming,
comet, whatever
these
this is.
these
See the
trends, we
beam?
can call
Just
them,
beaming.
weren't evident. Now, what we see in
Let me
Matthew
move my mouse
24
out of the
is,
way.
in fact, there's two verses I want you to see. Look at verse 8 of chapter 24. It
There
says,
it
all
is.
these, and it's a listing of the six events, the wars and the famines and the persecution
There it
and
is.
all of those things, those six things.
Right
All of
there.
these are the beginning of sorrows
I'll be right
in
back.
Marseille. Sorrows, literally birth pangs. If you know anything about birth pangs, one thing about birth pangs are normally they start far apart and lighter and get heavier and heavier and closer until it's paroxysmic. It's birth pangs. And that's what the Lord says. He says, you're always going to have all these things. Verse 6, wars and rumors of wars, and national conflicts. Actually, verse 7 says, ethne against ethne. Ethnic group fighting ethnic group. And it's interesting, the unraveling of so many nations are kind of patchwork quilts of all these different ethnic groups. And the closer we get to the end, the more the quilt unravels. And kingdom against kingdom, it's almost like there's this, balance in the world, but the kingdoms all come loose. And then the famines, we've always have had famines, but they get just stronger and stronger and stronger. More deadly, and pestilences we'll talk about, and on and on. So that's what it says. But keep going down to verse 33. So this is what Jesus says. So you also, when you see all these things, now he says they're trends. He says, look for these things. And when you see them, look what it says. You know that it is near, at the door. That's very interesting. Verse 34, assuredly, I say to you, this generation, what generation? The generation that sees all these things. Interesting. Will not, or will by no means pass away till all these things take place. So basically what Jesus gives us is specific details. Now, what is the sign, the ultimate sign? Well, it tells, if you've ever wanted to know the sign, Jesus is the sign. Look at, it says in verse 30, then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn. The only sign everyone sees is the sign of the Son of Man. He is the sign. But the trends, you're going to see them, Jesus said, lining up. And when you see them lining up, when what I'm describing is finally possible, the generation that sees that will by no means miss it. It's near, it's at the door. And That generation, verse 34, will by no means pass away till all these things take place. So the list of the biblical trends of Christ's return are not actually full-blown till the tribulation time, but you'll see them. You'll see them coalescing. And each of these signs are trends, and the trends are speeding up. At the last seconds of the countdown clock of Christ's return, each day the prophetic picture that Jesus painted gets clearer. Each of these signs were captured by the apostles and prophets between 2,000 and 3,500 years ago, and now they're happening in our lifetime. In fact, you can say that every single one of these is in some form on the horizon. Well, I want to just give you a handful of the precise, clear, specific trends that Christ gave, and just remind you of what they are. And the first one is, Jesus said in Matthew 24, that when you see these things, when you start seeing them, then you'll know it's near, and that generation will see it. So what signs do we see? Number one, Daniel tells us that the end is marked. And go to Daniel chapter 12. Daniel says some very sobering words. Jesus cites him in Matthew 24. That's why we're using him. He says, as Daniel the prophet said, and so what did Daniel the prophet say? Verse 1, at that time Michael, this is the last chapter of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 1, at that time, and what time is it? It's when the Antichrist is coming into the glorious land. That's chapter 11, verse 41 of Daniel. The glorious land is God's way of talking about the Holy Land, about Israel, the land, the apple of his eye, he calls the people of that land. But at that time, when Israel is in the crosshairs of the Antichrist, Michael shall stand up, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of your people. Daniel was a Jew. Michael stands watch over the people. And Michael is still standing watch over them at the end. See this? Look what it says here. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time your people will be delivered, everyone who's found written in the book. This is an end times event. And there's still a nation of Israel. And there's still a Michael standing guard over them at the direct command of God. And so for those that think Israel is finished, God isn't aware of it, nor is his word. Only their traditions are, because they can't figure it out, because many people are still marked by the anti-Semitism of the reformers, and they were. Martin Luther was terribly anti-Semitic, sadly, but all of us have problems, and if God should mark iniquity, none of us would stand, and their problems were far fewer than ours, but it is a sad one that's perpetuated through the denominations. But keep reading to what Daniel says in verse 4. He goes through the resurrection and the verse 3, the rewards. Those who are wise will shine like the brightness, and those who turn many to righteousness. But now look at the trend, verse 4. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Okay, now what is it? How do we know it's the time of the end? Two things. Many shall run to and fro. Global travel. Look at this.
I don't think
Did
it's
you know
just
that
world travel. I think
3.8
it's
billion
internet travel.
people will fly on an airplane this year? Did you know 1 billion of them will
People
be
chasing
in
around
America?
the internet.
Doesn't mean there are only
Going
300
to and
and some million
fro.
Americans. Some of us fly way
From
more than
deception
others.
to
But
deception
there are
to people leading
3.8 billion human beings that are running
misleading
to and
people with
fro. You understand?
false
This is
prophecies and
unbelievable.
false
The
science,
same way
using
of travel
science
that was in the
to
Bible
try to
times
disprove
persisted
God,
all. Did you know we had
stuff like
no
that.
advances in travel from biblical times all the way through the time of Ben Franklin in the American Revolution? Did you know when he solicited the help of France, he went on a sailboat across the ocean? A sailboat. That's how Jesus went around the Sea of Galilee. That's how the Phoenicians took Jonah. Stuff hasn't changed since Bible times. But immediately after that, after the turn of the 1800s, we had the invention of the steam engine and the steamboat and the steam locomotive, and that went right from that into the internal combustion, and then we had all of that, the automotive,
but
and then the
let's
Wright
talk
brothers
about
took that
technology.
internal combustion, they
You
made
can
the
be in
airplane,
someone's living
and then
room.
Goddard made the, and we all know all
You
that,
can
the
see
rocket,
each
and now
other
we're just
and talk to each
traveling.
other, hear each other. The only thing
But
you
it isn't
can't
just that.
do
Look at the next, the other half.
is
It's
feel
actually
and
4B.
smell
It
each
says
other.
the global
It's the only
explosion
thing
of
you can't do
knowledge.
now. Yeah.
Knowledge would increase, it says.
But you can
It
see
says,
each
and
other.
knowledge shall increase.
You can hear each
What's
other
interesting is it's just happening
live
around us. We're not thinking anything about it.
around the
We have
world.
gone from kilobytes to megabytes to
And
gigabytes to
you can actually do something more. Hold on, I'll call y'all back. Hello. Good morning. You just woke up, huh? Yeah, you needed that